What's up, solutionaries? Maj Toure here. You are here for another episode of Gun Talk. I'm not sure what episode this is. We have had some amazing guests on already, and today we have another amazing guest. And I say amazing, I mean, y'all are used to people that's like snipers and special ops dudes and SF dudes and stuff like that. But today we have someone that's spectacular and amazing for different reasons. Because a lot of times we hear conversation as it relates to firearms and the Second Amendment because we're talking about people doing special ops and just things of that nature. But we tend to ignore the legislation and the civic component that's associated with it. And the politicians ain't special forces. They paperwork gangsters. And sometimes they'll get you right up out of your rights or attempt to with paperwork. And so we're going to talk about that with our guest today. But before I bring her up, yes, her. First female gun talk. And I want to emphasize that because I think that the community could do well to exercise and highlight more female voices. More. And this ain't no extreme leftist like tap dance or pander thing. We're talking about qualified female voices, just like there's qualified and overqualified female and male voices. So before we bring up our guest today, I want to talk to y'all real briefly. We got St. Louis, Cleveland, Baton Rouge, Arizona, and Chicago coming up. These classes in these cities are free. They're free because of your voluntary donations. And those voluntary donations have kept a lot of people afloat, a lot of paperwork, a lot of handouts, a lot of all of those. And I mean handouts meaning like curriculums. What's up, Bookworm? These things happen because of your support. And we want everybody to come take advantage of the support that folks have given us through their voluntary donation. So all throughout the interview today, we'll talk about some of that, the community work. But again, guys, St. Louis, Cleveland, Baton Rouge, Arizona, and Chicago. And you can register for these classes at solutionaryuniversity.org. Very, very important that we're doing that and supporting those causes. As well as, guys, if I didn't name your city, register for the newsletter. All right? Register for the newsletter at solutionaryuniversity.org. And get the updates to see when we're coming to your city. Or if you're registering in the on the website, you can email me directly. It's Maj Toure at solutionaryuniversity.org. You can email and say, yo, what's up with Little Rock, Arkansas? What's up with such and such? And let's get active. Let's get back. J-Dub in the chat just said, oh, Oakland needs those classes. I haven't been to Oakland in years for a class. And I love Oakland. And the last time I was in Oakland was for a libertarian event. And I was in East Oakland. I love Oakland. And my point in saying this is how you can do it. And this is how you can get involved on that way. Thank you to Scrapping Beauty. It says happy Sunday. And lastly, before we get into the interview, there are 5 seats left for this Friday Chicago class. And our next guest is Chicago to the heart and has fought for the people of Chicago, Illinois, 1,000%. And there's only 5 seats left for this Friday Chicago class. So if you are in the Chicago area, Illinois area, close to, Illinois is a expansive state. But if you're in that area, the Chicago city area, please come to the class. It's free. And again, this is because of your voluntary donations. And it keeps this gun safety and Second Amendment education going. You create more force multipliers when you donate. So I'm going to say all these things throughout, but I want to start and get all of this out of the way so I can, because I'm super excited to talk to today's guest. All of your super chats, all of your donations, givesingo.com/solutionary. And the super chats go towards that work. And again, 5 seats left for the city of Chicago. And without further ado, I am bringing to the stage our guest for today's Gun Talk, the one and only, incomparable, hardworking Mrs. Rhonda Ezell. How are you?
I'm fine, Maj. How are you? Thanks for having me.
I'm wonderful. I'm wonderful. Where's Marley at?
Marley's a big girl now. She's in high school. So,
oh my God.
Yeah, that part.
Marley's in high school? In my brain, Marley is still a 9 or 10-year-old in my head.
Yeah, in grandma's heart too. But she's a big girl now. She just went on some type of high school thing, like a dance thing. So she's a big girl now. We're gonna try to see what we can do.
Yeah, yeah, that just blew my mind. So for those of you that are not aware, across all of the social media platforms, if you're watching this on Rumble, if you're watching this on youtube.com/Maj Toure, if you're watching this on rumble.com/Maj Toure, if you're watching this on X, we're going to go through a few questions and some backdrop with our sister Rhonda Ezell. For the people that may not know, I know we have a lot of Second Amendment folks, but for the people that may not know, can you introduce yourself and also give us some back history or backstory on this historic Ezell versus Chicago case that I want to make sure that everybody that's watching this has a solid understanding of?
Absolutely, Maj. I'm Rhonda Ezell. I was the lead plaintiff in Ezell versus City of Chicago. We took on the City of Chicago for the right to build gun ranges. That case did not come about until after the McDonald versus City of Chicago case, which was a landmark victory at the Supreme Court level for the right to own a gun in the home. The City of Chicago had in place gun control measures that violated the rights of all citizens, as well as the state of Illinois. And as you know, we went to court. I didn't get involved until after the McDonald case. My case, Ezell versus Chicago, came about once the McDonald versus Chicago case was won at the Supreme Court level. I was at home watching television. I saw this guy on television saying we can now have a gun in the home. And I had just gotten out of the hospital, learned how to walk again. I had lost my health. And I was like, hey, I'm having some issues here. I'm going to get this because I know once I defend myself, it's going to be a lot of little riffraff. And so I went to comply with this new order that's at the time, which is a defunct CFP, which is a Chicago firearm permit for those that aren't in the City of Chicago. Once the McDonald case was won, the City of Chicago, they didn't like that. They said, okay, now you have to have a Chicago firearm permit in order to obtain a firearm in your home. And you also need range training. And so when I was going about doing that, I had to travel outside of the city to do so. And so what that led to was a lawsuit. Because you can't mandate training and prohibit the training at the same time. And that's exactly what the City of Chicago had done. And so Ezell versus the City of Chicago was born. So
what was the motivation? Because I get one angle in saying, hey, I see what's happening. A lot of times we see what's happening and we can see the play, but not as many people are motivated to actually go do something about the play that they see. They ain't going to run the blitz. They see the play, they know the play, but they're not going to do nothing.
Right.
What motivated you after being injured?
Mm-hmm.
What motivated you to say, I have to do something about this and be that paperwork gangster that we definitely need?
Well, what motivated me was being a mother, protecting my child, protecting my home, protecting my family, hands down. We had a situation where the gangbangers tried to get fancy with my son. At one point in time, he was a 13-year-old. And unfortunately, he can't join. He can't do that. He was valedictorian. We're not having that. That's not how we get down. We doing education here. And so, with the threat on his life as a teenager, I wasn't having it. And so that kind of sparked way before that. But as we came up to that point, it was Chicago was known for being the number one corrupt city in the nation, 2, being a violent place, and number 3, ain't nobody gonna say nothing, and they know what's going on. So I wasn't having it. I'm not going. So I took the initiative to know that I'm responsible for my own safety and the safety of my family. And so when you start dealing with people trying to break into your home or trying to break into your apartment, and you haven't done anything to these people, you try to do it the right way. You make the little old 911 call, and they come and say some old fancy cute, well, you know what? Now I'll tell you, have a good day. I'll take it from here. And so it went down like that. I was trying to be nice about it and said, hey guys, we have a situation. And, they want to ask me, was I sure? Are you sure someone is trying to break in? And I told them to have a good day. No worries. I got it from here. And that led to, knowing, like, as we speak now, sirens are just screaming past the window. Right. However, the violence plays a key role. We know the corruption plays another key role, because once it comes to taking responsibility for the action of these criminals, they're not going to do that. They're going to get a slap on the wrist. They're going to be out on the street again, and they're going to be repeat offenders, hands down. And the citizens just going to be out here fending for themselves. I'm not one to cry about anything. I'm going to get involved. You know what I'm saying? And so that's where we were. We knew that we already were gun owners, even when they claim you're not supposed to have one. This is that Ed Burke situation. You know, he was the one in City Hall that put forth this gun control in 1980 something. You know, and so we weren't standing for it then. We ain't standing for it now and beyond, and so on and so forth.
So you just said something that was very interesting. You said you already had firearms, allegedly, maybe not, but you already had firearms. What drew you to that? Was it all, hey, I live in Chicago, and so we're gonna do this? Or was it a passion for Second Amendment work, or was it just primarily the defensive component?
You know what it was? In reality, it was, I was at the age that I could get a FOID card. And believe it or not, in Chicago at that time in the 80s, you could get a FOID card, but you still wasn't supposed to own a firearm. That was a catch-22. So I figured if I can legitimately, legally get this FOID card that the system is offering to a legal, lawful individual that goes to work every day, pays bills, live a nice, peaceful life, then I should be able to buy a gun legally and lawfully. I have the card, right? And that's what it was. But what happened was, like I said, I had the card. But once my son's life was threatened, it was up.
Yeah.
That was what it was.
We got to do what we got to do. I want to go back to this. How did he? I'm interested in how did your son receive that? Because at the time he wasn't a gun owner, to your knowledge, correct?
No, he wasn't. He was a kid.
Teenager.
You talking about back?
Oh yeah.
Before Ezell.
Well, no, I'm saying. See, that's me telling on myself, because I had guns since I was 15. So, I've lived on my own. My mother got married. And when she got married, they moved down south. And I tried it for a little bit, and I just was like, nah, I'm Philly, right? But now, fast forward, right? Now I'm like, whoo, I can't wait to get out of Philly. I love being in the South. I love the grass, right? But I've always had guns since I was 15. And inadvertently, my thought process was, damn, some might have just had that thing regardless, because that's, some places that's just how it is. So his response to being threatened, you got to jump in. Was it stones? Was it GDs? Like, what was it? Like, what was the whole, what was the whole thing?
You don't even want to know. We're not going to even go here, Maj, because I might end up in a shootout after this.
What was...
It was just, like I said, you know how when you're new in the neighborhood and you're new on the block. So we were new on the block. And this kid is dressing nice. He's a handsome young man. They laughing and sniggling because he has a curfew. Well, smart, educated kids whose parents go to work every day. Both parents in the home, both have a job. He's going to have to come in early. He has to do homework. He's going to have dinner. He's going to be put, all the things that parents do to their kids when they're providing for their children. But then, when you get to the point where somebody ring your doorbell and said they got your son surrounded down the street, who was they? Hold on, let me go down here and see. So me and my old man, we went down there. Yeah. And true enough, they had my son surrounded. I've never told this story before.
Wow.
But it didn't work out in their favor. 3 on 100. And we still here. Right.
Exactly. And that's the key. A lot of times, it's like I was watching this movie a few nights ago, right? It was watching me, right? I love movies, but this particular time, I was doing stuff. I was halfway asleep, right? And it was like Jack Reacher. He was fighting these dudes that it was like 5 of them, right? And the dude was like, it was 5 of us. It's 1 of you. And he was like, nah, it's not 5 on 1. It's really 2. It's really 3 on 1. But, I'm going to knock you out first. And then we're going to see 2 of y'all going to run. And so that same concept, when you stand up to the foolishness, a lot of times when they think it's 10 of us. Nah, it might be 5 of y'all.
Right.
It might be, because some of y'all gonna fold. Some of y'all just around for security. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and they just knew. They knew it wasn't right. It was just the new kid on the block. They wanted to see how far they can go, if they could scare people. What are they? I guess what the family made of. You know how the hood is, and this is way back. Like I said, my son is almost 40 years old.
Yeah,
I just had a birthday the other day. I'm almost 60. We're gonna just balance it like that. You
right,
feel me? So, but I'm not going.
Yeah.
You don't get to threaten my child, and nobody else should be sitting around allowing these type of things. But we know that the danger of even addressing such situation will get you killed, get your house shot up, or get you robbed, or whatever. I didn't care about that because we weren't those type of people that were, doing negative things. We weren't gangbanging. We weren't in the street. We were going to work every day, providing for our family. But you're not going to allow anyone to take advantage of your educated child in no shape, form, or whatever. Whether your child is in the space where our child was at the time of being a teenager, whether they're the smartest kid in the school, highest Iowa test scores, valedictorian, that's what we had. Doesn't matter. It's your child, and you are responsible for protecting your loved ones. And so that's what it was with us. After that, it was, how you doing, ma'am?
Right.
How you doing?
Right. Now we can get nice and copacetic. Now that things have been cleared up.
You see.
I want to go back to the Ezell versus Chicago situation.
Mm-hmm.
What were some of the biggest challenges that you faced during that landmark? And I want to keep saying that to the, we all thankful for the work that Otis McDonald did, for sure. Like,
absolutely,
no doubt.
Absolutely.
Me personally, and I'm not just saying this because we know each other, I look at that Ezell versus Chicago legislation as equally landmark, because it took it from just the individual to businesses and ranges and opportunities. The individual could choose to not participate in their right, but the other people, you set a precedent for the other people that might want to open the business as a range, might want to work at a range, might want to go actually get trained. So you're talking about changing redlining and zoning and all of these different, factors that I don't know if people really tie in together.
Mm-hmm.
What were some of the biggest challenges during that legal battle, and how did you, muster up the strength? Because this wasn't like a 2-week fight.
No.
You know what I'm saying? So what were some of those challenges, and how did you overcome them?
Maj, there was a lot of challenges, and a lot of people don't understand that. They just see these cases and they don't know the people. And that's one of the reasons at Chicago Guns Matter, we put faces to the cases. One of the main challenges was my health. I had lost my health. I had just got off life support. I was in a coma, and I had to learn how to walk again. Right. Mm-hmm. And I'm still dealing with the fact that somebody think they want to try to break in. You follow me? Yeah. See what I'm saying? So this is where this came into effect. One of the things was being healthy enough to even get involved. I didn't make that decision on my own. I asked my son and I asked my dad, what did they think I should do at this point? Because just getting off of life support and not really being, because you got to remember, I had an oxygen machine in here. It was about big as I don't know what, with 100-foot cord, the walker to walk with, the cane, etc. Like I said, it was there. These are the things that people don't know. It's been talked about and written about, but they don't read that. See, that's the part when I say we in the fight and we passionate about it because we know people don't care, but it's a real story because it's a real person. Mm-hmm. It took for me to mentally balance my health of just nearly dying. Yeah. To, as they say, pull yourself up by your bootstraps and get into the fight, because once I got off of life support, I still was trying to learn how to walk. Yeah. My son was off to college and the bad guys tried to break in. So see, that's I know I'm finna defend myself regardless.
Yeah. Why would the city, because if the city's knowing all of these things, hey, we got a daughter of Chicago. It died all the way through. Chicago as the day is long. She's fighting for something that's in alignment with stuff that's the McDonald decision. Why were they legally trying to give you pushback? What was that pushback, and why do you think they were trying to do it?
The city of Chicago wanted to stand their ground with just more racist gun control. Because I'll tell you this, in the fight for concealed carry, our now Attorney General was then the state representative, was trying to broker a deal to say, we'll give you concealed carry if you carve out Chicago and Cook County. When we know Chicago has this thing about utilizing the Second Amendment as a political pawn. And when we go back to the question of asking about the Ezell case, the Ezell case is as solid as any other case that has been won in this country, because not only did it win the right to build gun ranges, not just for Miss Ezell, not for the city of Chicago, this case has set a precedent. And it states the right to possess firearms for possession implies a corresponding right to acquire and maintain proficiencies in their use. The core right wouldn't mean much without the training and practice that makes it effective. We have been cited in the Heller 2 case, the ghost gun ban case. We're cited all across the country in other states to help win their cases. This isn't just about Ezell. It's not just about a gun range. It's not about Chicago itself. It is the gift that keeps on giving. When we read these cases, open it up, read it. We're cited there, right along with the Heller, McDonald, Bruin, Catano case, etc. Ezell is right there. And I keep telling people, I remember one time I posted something about Virginia. They were being smacked down by their governor. And I post something and somebody goes, "You're from Chicago. What do you have to do with it?" I said, "If you open up the case and read it, you'll figure it out." You see what I'm saying? So education is key. So we get that backlash just because of our city's name, but nobody seems to understand what we've put forth. We've set a precedent. Right. And the more that these states tend to violate these cases, the more we put our foot in their butt.
So in essence, the city didn't have legal grounds. They just wanted to stand their ground to look tough on crime, as opposed to going, hey, maybe more safe and responsible gun owners in Chicago that take the right type of training in a safe and structured environment could actually push back against the crime.
The city of Chicago didn't care. Here's what they did. They did not want, again, it was all political. They thought that they can hold on to the Second Amendment fight and battle and hate the people in downstate Illinois because they say that they're Republicans, right? But if you look at the makeup of Illinois General Assembly, it's made up of a ton of Democrats from the city of Chicago. So that's overbearing the state, because Chicago makes most of the decisions for the entire state of Illinois. And so they planned that game. Right. And so in the meantime, in between time, while they're playing the gun control game, they're walking around with their firearms and they're armed, and their family and their loved ones. Everybody is copacetic on their end. But, they want us to be out here ducking and dodging, getting shot at, robbed, stuck up. And
you're fine on O Block. You're fine.
Right,
just
man,
say
no.
no.
Just give us a call when you hear shots. Like the idiot just stopped ShotSpotter. Now you want individuals to call and try to, get involved and start dry snitching and getting beat up and killed after the fact, right? When you tell them Miss Ezell called and told us that you were the one, I'm just saying, this is what we're back to that now. We're back to square one with this idiot we got as a mayor.
Yeah. So since the case, right, you put the work in, because it's two cases. It's two cases. You put the work in. You beat them twice. And I want everybody to understand that. One time could be a fluke, but it happened twice. We're going to beat you up twice. So this ain't no accident.
Yep.
How has the landscape for gun rights, regulations in Chicago, I know that the laws and the legislation has changed somewhat because of this landmark legislation, but what has changed? And from your perspective, what more needs to still be done?
What has changed in the city of Chicago is what we've seen from the work that we've put in as long as we've been in the trenches. People are now getting involved. It used to be back in the day, because when me, myself, and Mr. Oda McDonald was in the streets, I'm talking about on the ground, in the hood, at the L stations, passing out literature in 2010. People would take that paperwork, ball it up, and you would never carry a gun in Chicago. Y'all crazy. So we knew what it was. You know, we were fighting for our rights. We had passion. You know, we were older. You know what I'm saying? And what it led to was more gun ownership. People got involved. People used to be afraid. We knew the guns existed because we can tell from the violence. See, 1 + 1 is still 2. If people are getting shot in the city from 1980 to 2024, somebody got a gun. And if it's in the urban community, in the Black community, then that means Black people got a gun. But what changed was they started understanding that people had stood up for them. And, you know, like I said, and you've made the statement, and I want to reiterate that statement, because, you know, when they say, what do you tell a hard-headed person that don't listen? You know, you don't give them one black eye, you give them 2. So when you beat Mary Emanuel and Rahm Emanuel and Mayor Daley in federal court, like I did, they're gonna hate you. You're gonna have an X on your back. So what we brought to the table was for people to be able to get involved. When you see people now in the city of Chicago that says, I'm an instructor, I give classes, I give courses, that's our work. That's the fruit of our labor. I don't care who they are. If you're an instructor in the state of Illinois, you're welcome. You see what I'm saying? And a lot of people don't like to respect that. And I've been very nice for the last 14 years. But, you know, a grandma getting a little old now. So I might have to stand on some things with some people and let them know that the work that you're doing is because of the work that we put in. And we're not being rude and disrespectful. What we're saying is we put in the work to fight against the political powers to be, to make sure that people come behind us and take that work and put it into play. And so now we got instructors, we got Black gun groups now forming, and people are being involved, and then that gets them to network with other people in other states and go to these events, and then they start crossing T's and dotting I's, and you know, because of course me, I'm not an instructor, so you know I get this question of, why are you not an instructor? I don't have to be, sweetheart. I instruct the country. You know, that's precedent.
So I instructed the instructors to start instructing.
See what I'm saying? That? You get it. And so, you know, Maj, you know me. You know I'm very well humble in this space. But I'm so glad to see that it's not just me, us, me and Mr. McDonald or the Lawsons who actually, you know, whose face got put out there, because people don't like to be known as the gun owner, because now the world's that's the gun person, or now you setting yourself up for whatever may take place. But politically, they hate you regardless. If you notice, I'm not on the news in Chicago. They'll go get some so-called fake pastor saying something. The same pastor that came crying to me about somebody pulled a gun in their face. You know what I'm saying? I ain't even gonna put them out there like that, but here we are. They don't come to us because they know we're not agreeing with the underlay for the overplay to market and promote more gun control. Right? They know we're against that. They don't want to hear the truth, but they playing a deadly game. You know, and what do I mean by that? Again, prime example. We had our mayor who had a vote in City Hall. They voted to keep ShotSpotter. We know that the ShotSpotter detector detects shots. Yes, it records things. It's not going to stop and prevent, but it will give you some insight on the individuals, the who, what, when, and where. You'll catch up with them. But the notion of our mayor vetoing that and saying that he has a better way to fight this crime, he's going to go through the violent prevention programs. Now, we talking about ex-cons who still gangbang. You're going to give the money to these groups to do, how's that going to cover the entire state or the city of Chicago? This is nothing more than a money laundering scheme, just like the government is doing with Ukraine. These are facts. Because now he's asked citizens to call in every time they hear a shot. So I'm laying in the room, I hear a shot, I call it, where did the shot come from? Was it 4 blocks east, northwest, or south? Like, you see what I'm saying? So this is a
And
lose-lose.
these guys generally don't have an understanding of ballistics. It's like when I go to some law enforcement trainings and I'm hearing some law enforcement, their protocol for students is, like stop, drop, or run and hide, run away from the shots. Well, in a concrete building where sounds bounce off of concrete walls, it's a little bit more difficult to know. It might genuinely sound like the sound was coming from that way. But if you don't know that about sound signature, then you're telling them to do something that's like kind of like the opposite of what they may need to do. Yeah. So you get to that point. You give Rahm Emanuel as well as Daley 2 black eyes. Yeah. And now there's the ability to have ranges in Chicago. Have there been massive amounts of ranges opening? Because to me, that sounds like it'll be a great money maker. What's the status currently? Is it like, hell yeah, we opening up shop? Or is it still kind of like a little light?
Maj, no one has taken advantage of these historical landmark victories. And I'm stunned because I've been sitting at the table with people saying, hey, guys, we've laid the foundation. We need you to invest financially to build a state-of-the-art gun range. We have zero, right? Since the case, since the case. Now, I can't count people's pockets, but they're missing out. Yeah. We have millions of gun owners here, millions of FOIA card holders in the state of Illinois and then the city of Chicago. But I'm looking outside of that because I know there's a lot of people that want to stick it to the city of Chicago. Pour salt in the open wound. Open this demonstration up. Let these people get this firearm safety training and education that's much needed. It's because, again, for every instructor in the city of Chicago, he still have to go outside of the city to train. Think about that. Right. They should have been, look, Miss Ezell won this. I've been telling all these people, do y'all know anybody? Find someone. Even in the 2A community, right? The gatekeepers. Where y'all at? With the big bucks. I didn't reach out to these people.
So when you reach out to them, what's the play? Is it like they nervous about zoning?
No response. No response. Now, I have never been to SHOT Show before. Yeah. But even SHOT Show, any of these 2A gun conventions where they have these people on stage and they're communicating and they're talking and they're giving their little demos. You mean to tell me not one time on the business level that this wasn't a process of, hey, here's where we can make millions if we invest a few million right here within the city of Chicago, building a gun range, yada, yada, yada. I was in talks with USCCA and it fell down because COVID came. And then, the country shut down with the, FRE 101. And then so we kind of didn't get back into play with each other. But it was a few people that I was trying to talk to. I don't know if they're just not genuinely interested, but it just doesn't make sense to me. And again, I'll kind of get petty sometimes when people say, well, why aren't you an instructor? The same reason that nobody did nothing with the work we've done already. So you want me to be an instructor, pay fines and fees to get a license, and then on top of that, still have to go outside of the city to train. But let me tell you something about history and tradition. Not one time did they say anybody had to pay anybody for training because they was in their backyard shooting cans. So we going to keep it a buck. Right? But
I think that that's an excellent point that you bring up, because it's like, don't ask me about this thing when I've done the groundwork and the framework and foundational work for some other, we right in alignment with those same other big decisions, when we got to continue to do this work, because I made it where it wasn't possible. Now it's possible. Now I got to do this. Do you think that they're afraid maybe because they don't want the smoke from local government from Chicago?
Well, what I think is they still don't understand the lawsuits have been won. And they keep thinking the red tape is in play, right? And then they still, even though they know they're going to get hijacked on the back end, either way, regardless, because Chicago is still corrupt. But I still don't know why no one has stepped up and said, let's build this. Right. They built a damn casino before we got a gun range. with the violence, you ain't tell me nobody sticking nobody up, robbing nobody, coming out drunk, waiting out in the parking lot. But you gonna tell me we not good enough to get a gun range? How do we let that happen?
You know who I want to? I'm thinking about 5 people right now in my head, because I haven't been to the last time I was in Chicago was I was there for like maybe 2 hours. I had to do something with a speaking engagement, and I flew from somewhere to Chicago. It was real close. I flew in, did the presentation, went right back to the hotel. Right to the airport and flew back. But my point is, now I'm thinking more, because I haven't been there in so long, outside of just those little hits there and there. Now my brain is going, who can I get to give me $5 million? And if we can build something that I'm like, listen, give me 5. I'm going to try to come in under budget. We got all of this. We're going to chop it up, because we definitely are going to, obviously, for those of y'all that don't know, real quick, everybody in the chat, hit the like button, hit the like button, hit the like button. If you're watching on X, repost this all over the place. We're talking with Rhonda Ezell, who has won 2 landmark Second Amendment cases. Ezell versus Chicago, like she said, put black eyes on Rahm Emanuel. You know that Rahm Emanuel never let a good crisis go to waste. Rahm Emanuel and Daley. And so, saying this to say, this is who we're having a conversation with today, and these are cases that made it available for people to open gun ranges in the city limits of Chicago. Detroit had something stupid like that too for a while. I'm pretty sure they still have it in place. That's where all of the ranges are, in like 9 Mile Road, not 8 Mile and not within. But my point here is that's who we're having the conversation with today, Solutionaries. Make sure you're sharing this all over the place. I'm thinking about the people that I know that I'm like, listen, bro, if I come up with the solid plans and the location, can you just put $5 million to the side for me? And I'm thinking about talking to somebody that comes to mind that has like, their company does like $100 million a year. And if we come with a solid plan and figure something out, we need to do it. And we'll talk more about it when we're in Chicago next Friday. Miss Ezell will be at the class. Black Guns Matter is in Chicago next Friday. We're doing an all-free event. You should come. You should register. That link right there, solutionaryuniversity.org, is where everybody can go to register if you're in the city of Chicago or close to Chicago. Make sure that you pull up. We're going to wrap up here shortly, but I want to ask you 2 more questions.
Sure.
Actually, it's more one part. It's more. I want to merge this into one question. What advice would you give for people that, are now listening or will come across this live later? They see the impact that you've made. They're like, damn, I didn't even know that. Like, we got a sister that's American history, right? If they recognize that and they want to support the ongoing efforts, as well as get involved, and maybe their city is a Detroit, maybe their city is a Compton, right? What advice would you give to them to become more involved, not only in the gun community, but in gun communities in cities that have these or attempted to have these restrictive laws? What would you say to that person? What would you tell them?
What I would tell them is to pay attention to their legislature in their state. Find out who your aldermen are, who are the mayor, who are your representative. Go down there, meet those people, tell them about the bills that you disagree with. Pay attention to what they're trying to pass in the legislature. Right? Here we had where we would file witness slips against things that they were trying to pass. We agreed with it or we didn't agree with it. But you have to really pay attention, because what they will tend to do is pass these laws in the dead of the night. Like right now, we're fighting the PICA Act, the unconstitutional ban against AR-15s that Governor Pritzker, along with his cronies, signed at 3 a.m. They do these type of things. So 1, get to know who your representatives are. Go to their office, pay them a visit, give them a phone call, send them an email, show up to their office in person. And if you don't catch them there, slide on them in D.C. Pull up to their offices in Washington, D.C. and watch how big their eyes get, like my congressman eyes got when he saw me standing in his office in Washington, D.C. This is how you make a difference. You may not think it does, but the the more people that don't write to these people or make a phone call to their office or don't leave a voicemail or don't leave an email, they're not being challenged. Yeah. So they continue to get away with this. They do their little deeds. They get with their little crew and they go on and live their lives. And you're still complaining about why I don't have this, because you're not paying attention. So get involved, you know, reach out to them any way you can. Any way you on social media, they on social media.
Right.
You got to go onto their platform and you have to badger them under every law that they want to pass. They'll get the message.
Yeah.
Somehow make your voice heard. You know what I'm saying? That's one way. And that's a lot of ways.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
How can people get behind Chicago Guns Matter? How can folks support the work that you're doing and that advocacy work? I always get a little upset with guys that only have podcasts when and you know, there's a difference between just talking and advocating and being active, right? So when I look at you as an activist that advocates but is active, right? And I also think that you've done, to be honest, I'm not saying to stop. I'm saying that you've done more than enough for everybody else to pick them batons up and start jogging with them at minimum, right? But what do you think is next, as well as where can people go to make sure that they're getting behind the work that you're doing? Because it's necessary. How can they be force multipliers for Miss Ezell?
Well, you know, Maj, right now the main goal at this point is finding an individual to put forth the monies to build a gun range. Because right now, Chicago Guns Matter, we've took a slight turn in what we're doing. Nothing changed. It's just that we're in the lane of helping other people train people as well. But we still don't have that legitimate gun range that we need in the city. And so that's the main focus. That's the main priority. Now, if you come into the class, we'll actually have some Chicago Guns Matter shirts for you. You know, we have a little bit of a little swag, you know, a couple of little patches here and there, but that's minimal because again, it's a piece of history, you know. So we've never asked anybody for anything, but what we want to do is for them to talk to people that they know and say, hey, are you aware of this woman's case in the city of Chicago? Do you want to be involved with building a gun range? Find that person, you know, have those conversations. You know what I'm saying? Because we don't have GoFundMe and GoSends and Go. Like, I guess I'm old school. You know, we talked about it before, so I don't, you know, be like.
You know, I was quick to bug you, like, no, you got to get one of these. No, you got to get one of these.
I mean, I was like, and to this day, I still don't. You know, and so I'm just proud of what we've done to this point. Like I said, we'll see some people at the class. We'll get them in a shirt. We'll get them some patches. You know, y'all better bring some cash with y'all, you know, allegedly, because Maj might have some things available or whatever. But
no, for Chicago, I think I'm not going to bring any merch. I'm just going to bring all of the Chicago Guns Matter shirts, and people need to support that. I just won't bring any merch. I also think that from this conversation, I want some of the solutionaries that's watching this, that's good with Give, Send, Go pages and things like that. I want you guys to make a Give, Send, Go page. Somebody, as you're listening to this, I want you to make a Give, Send, Go page for Chicago Guns Matter. I want you to make the goal $1 million. I want you to make the goal $1 million and make a Chicago Guns Matter page. And then I'm going to promote it. Everybody in the solutionary group, our Telegram group, our solutionaryuniversity.org newsletter, we're going to send out newsletters and we're going to fundraise. I believe that if we can get $1 million in working capital from the people, I believe that we can then leverage that and say to somebody, hey, you guys want to pitch in? If we get 4 companies to say, give us $1 million apiece and we'll keep it under budget. My point in saying that is this is the importance of having these force multipliers in these conversations, because we have to make sure that we're figuring out how the collective of like-minded folks that are about freedom can work together to defend individual rights. It's very, very important. So I want to make sure you guys that are hearing this, the first one of y'all that do it, I'm going to follow you. I'm going to keep promoting you. I'm going to tell folks if that's what you do for a living, they need to come holler at you. But I want somebody to make a givesendgo.com/Chicago Guns Matter fund. I want y'all to do that. And I'm not just saying it. I'm going to make sure that we're actively chasing people to do it. But if you hear this and you want to do it, come be a part of this next phase of history. Because now I've made a decision that we're going to get a gun range in the city of Chicago. I just was like in my brain, because I go to so many places, then I'm like, oh yeah, they definitely got one now. And if they don't, then we need to make one. And so saying this to say, guys, somebody that's in the chat, somebody that's watching on Rumble and all of those different things, make the page and we'll figure it out. I think that's a good place to land. Can you tell the people your final thoughts before we wrap up and get prepared for next Friday? Next Friday, October the 4th, 6 p.m. Where's the joint at? I think it's at hold on, let me find out where that joint at. I'll put the flyer up, or somebody, Bookworm, or somebody put the link, but it's on solutionaryuniversity.org. Solutionaryuniversity.org. If you click court events, click the events page, and you'll see the upcoming events. October the 4th in Chicago. Go over to solutionaryuniversity.org, see what's up there. But Miss Ezell, can you give the people your final thoughts, and can you take us home where we can land this plane?
Absolutely. My final thoughts is this. If you're an American gun owner in this country, I want you to understand one thing, that you are responsible for your own safety. We now have 20 million illegals that have crossed our border. It is much more dangerous here in America than it has ever been. Now, I'm not a political person, but what I'm telling you is this. As a person that has stood up, took on the political powers to be, as a grandmother, as a woman, as a mom, as a friend, as a plaintiff, as a person that have set a precedent in the United States of America on how the Second Amendment is interpreted in the court of law. Never give up your American freedom for the right to self-defense. You have a right to own a firearm, whatever type of firearm you want. The government does not get the ability to tell you what you can and cannot have. The Constitution itself is not written about what type of firearm you can have. The Constitution was clearly written and put in place to keep the government in check. Okay, that's real talk. Don't let them don't let your government trick you in your grave. Okay, right. Okay.
100%.
That's it.
Rhonda, I want to thank you so much for tapping in. I'm going to, obviously, we're going to save this live. Guys, if you're watching it on rumble.com/Maj Toure, if you're watching it on youtube.com/Maj Toure, if you're watching it on X at Maj Toure 999, I want you to make sure that you follow at Miss_EZELL. I'm going to say it again, at Miss_EZELL. Follow, figure out ways to support. It's the homework assignment for everybody to make sure that the first person to get the Give, Send, Go up, holler at me. And we're going to make sure we're doing that. We will see you all this Friday, October the 4th at, I just put it up there. I forgot the name of it. Eagle Sports Range at the October the 4th. 5 seats left. Get over there. Register for the class. We got Baton Rouge, Phoenix, a bunch of other cities coming up. Solutionaryuniversity.org. Thank you again tremendously, Ms. Ezell. I will see you next Friday, and I hope that we can get as many awesome people that see this to get involved and be on point. And do not think that Chicago or any American city is a lost cause, because that means we're leaving Americans behind, and that's not the way. Thank you so much for tapping in. I appreciate y'all all. Be safe. Be solutionary.